Hey chefs, how's it going? Welcome back to Sweet Willy's Kitchen. Today in our continuing series for Force Friday, we are taking recipes off the Star Wars cookbook. And today, we're using the cover recipe. And we're dedicating this to one of our great YouTube friends, Wookiee Warrior 23. So this goes out to you, girls. Wookiee Cookies. So looking at the recipe, it looks like your basic chocolate chip cookie, but they're called Wookiee Cookies. So we're going to start off, and I'm going to use these to help me out here. We're going to use 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to use a teaspoon of baking soda, and please don't grab the stuff that's sitting in the freezer. Try to go with a fresh one, otherwise it'll taste whatever has been collected in the freezer. We're going to use a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. We'll use some ground cinnamon on that. We're going to use unsalted butter, and we've been sitting here, this has been sitting here for about an hour, so it's nice and soft, and this will help milk mix up pretty nicely. We're going to use brown sugar, regular granulated sugar. We're going to throw in 2 eggs, a little vanilla extract, and 2 types of chips. We're going to go with a milk chocolate chip and a semi-sweet. So basically it's a basic chocolate chip cookie recipe, but we're calling them Wookiee Cookies because why? Because it's Force Friday. And what better dessert to have after we made the Obi-Wan kebabs is to have some chocolate chip cookies. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so we're going to get our dry ingredients first. We'll start off with the dry ingredients, and what we'll do here, we got our, use our 2 1/4 cups of flour. I like to keep my flour in that, it keeps it dry. Ooh, look at all that noise. So we're going to use a 2 1/4 cups, 1/4, 2/4, and we'll eyeball. We'll eyeball a 1/4 cup. Boom. Put that back in here nice and neatly. That way. We like to keep our flour in here. It keeps it relatively safe and clean. We're going to use a teaspoon of baking soda. So teaspoon. And we're going to use our baking soda. So we're going to use our traditional Arm & Hammer. Again, we'll use this before we put it in the fridge. always use fresh baking soda if you can. You'll be glad you did here. So here we go. So we use a teaspoon. Yeah, we use a teaspoon. Level that off. Teaspoon of baking soda. That'll go in the freezer, and every time when we make fresh cookies, we'll just use a fresh thing of baking soda. So that, we're going to have a teaspoon of salt. Alright, so we got some, I like to use kosher salt. Why? I don't know, it's the best stuff that we use all around. And we are going to, first thing is the cinnamon. So we will use a teaspoon of cinnamon. So that. Teaspoon of cinnamon. Alright, teaspoon of cinnamon. So we're all set there. Anybody ever do that cinnamon challenge? I've heard that it's pretty dangerous, so we're not gonna do that. Okay, so we're gonna stir in all that. What you do is you use your put your dry ingredients in first, and I have no whisk. Probably in the dishwasher. I have one of my new whisks that we use for the non-stick, and I guess so. We'll use it there. So all we do is you take all those dry ingredients and you mix them together nicely. Okay? So we will be adding that very shortly. All right. So the next step: wet ingredients and our chips. So we're going to use our butter. All right, so we've got this. This is nice and soft. All right, room temperature. Put that in here. There we go. Just pretty again, once you get the hang of making fresh cookies, it's pretty easy. And then we're going to use the, we'll start off with a cup of the sugar, and we're going to use the brown sugar first. So we've got the butter, the brown sugar, and the granulated sugar in another mixing bowl. So there's another mixing bowl. That's all. That's all put together here. Where's my, get something to open this up with here. Okay, it's calling for a cup of packed brown sugar. So get that going. Go. Use the dark brown sugar. I like that. I don't have a container for that, so I think we'll just keep that in here. Fold it over, put it face down to keep it as airtight as possible. And we'll go there. And then we've got a half a cup of regular granulated sugar. That seems easy enough. There's our half cup. Oh, that's noisy. Half cup. So much for surprising anybody. All right? Half cup. That's a third of a cup. Here's my quarter cup. Here's my half cup. Half cup. Half cup of granulated sugar. Wow, look at that. All right. Put a zipper on that. I try to clean up. Try to keep a neat setup. Okay, try to, when you put something up, and if you have something nice and easy like that, put it away. And keep everything out of, again, you'll know it's there. Keep a nice, easy, unencumbered workspace. All right, and the next will be no eggs yet. So we'll be using what's a technique called creaming the eggs. Now, I don't have a blender. I don't have a mixer here yet. So I'm just going to start mixing all this together. So it's nice and that's one of the reasons why you use the butter at room temperature. So here we go. See, as you can see, it's all together like so. After a while, it's going to start to incorporate together. I think what we're going to do is we're going to get one of my handy dandy tools out. What am I talking about? Look what I found. I found my stick blender. So I think we'll use that for the mixing purposes. So we'll use this attachment. I don't know who I was kidding. But I think we'll start using that. There we go. Now we're talking. Be careful with that. We'll let you do that until it's nice and smooth. So it's a technique called creaming the butter. So essentially what we're doing is you're making the butter almost like a cream. Basically you're breaking up the butter, you're mixing and incorporating the sugar and so that's what it's going to look like. Okay, so that looks darn good. So we'll keep that. And then the next, it tastes good too. And then, what's with the eggs? We got to add the eggs from it, right? Scoop in there, drop some more. No. Use the blender. Use the butter, the sugar, the ground sugar, another mixing bowl. We use the butter, but beat the other thing with. Okay, now we add the eggs. We add the eggs and the vanilla extract. So, 1 egg, 2 eggs, and then 1½ teaspoons of vanilla extract. So, okay. Now we got a lot of wet ingredients going on. So, just be careful with this. Break the yolk. And now let's get that incorporated into this bed. As you can see, it's getting nice and loose. These stick blenders are something else. Once this stuff, as you can see, starts to get almost like, remember the mashed potatoes that we did? Almost to that consistency. It kind of looks like the Tuscan Raider taters. Okay, we're done with the stick blender. Let's get that out. Let's get that into the sink. Get that out of the way. Okay, now we start adding in. Now we start adding in the flour mixture. And we just use a little bit at the time. Don't dump it all. So we go about 1/4 of it. Let that get mixed in. While this is setting, let's preheat this oven. Let's get this oven preheated to 375. All right, so we're going to preheat the oven to 375 according to the recipe, while we're adding in more of the flour mixture. Like I said, I do it in 3 parts. That way you don't get any clumps. And once you get to the 3rd time, that's when it gets really good. See how it's getting like a cookie mixture? It's like a cookie dough. It's actually very smooth too. That whisk really came in handy. Alright. Look how that is there. Nice. And then we'll use the last of it. Wow, that's pretty good. Notice I didn't use the black chef's jacket. Especially when you're working with flour. That's why chefs wear white coats, because they're working with flour all the time. All right. Now it's starting to get like a cookie dough. Now it's see how that is there. Yeah, that's good stuff. Okay. I think I'm going to pass this on. I'm going to put this in the bigger bowl so we don't make a mess of things. Use one of my rubber spatulas. And let's put this in the big bowl. It'll be easier. Once we get the chips incorporated, I think it'll be better off. So word to the wise moving forward. If we're doing the mixing with the butter and all the big stuff, let's use the dry ingredients in the smaller bowl, and we'll use the wet ingredients in the big bowl, because eventually we'll be moving everything to the larger bowl when we incorporate both. Okay, so that was a teachable moment there, fans. Okay, so it's all cleaned out. Get that out of here. Put that in the thing. Now next we're going to add the chips. All right, so we got a cup of each. A cup of milk chocolate and a cup of semi-sweet. Why? Because they told me to. That's why. Knife here. Always cut away from you. If you have scissors, use the scissors. So we're using the small semi-sweet chips. 1 cup. And then the milk chocolate chips. 2 of those. Maybe one will go straight forward. So we've got 2 kinds of chips in here. Semi-sweet, and we have. So these are the milk. And this is the semi-sweet. There's definitely, you can tell the difference of the 2. Okay. These are the milk. These are the semi-sweet. See, the milk ones are a little lighter. So you know what? Throw them in there. Why not? We're cooking. We're making cookies. What's wrong with a couple extra chocolate chips when you're making cookies, right? All right. So we're going to incorporate all these in so everything is nice and even. And then once the mix is finished, we'll let that rest while the oven is doing its thing. All right. Only took a couple passes by. Which where we are. So that's what it looks like, folks. If you want more chips, by all means, go ahead and add them. But this looks pretty good. So right now we're waiting for the oven to get up to temperature, and then we're going to put these bad boys on a baking sheet. All right, so let's get all this out of the way. All our utensils. Nice and clean this. So you can use this one. Everything out of the way. All right. So let's get a baking sheet. Got a regular cookie sheet, and then what I do is I like to use parchment paper. That way the cookies stay on the sheet and they don't burn the bottoms. You take a look at most of your professional chefs or even your bakeries, and you can see their cookie sheets are lined with the stuff. So get that like so. And let's start making some cookies here. I'm going to use a tablespoon like so, okay? And we will scoop up some portions. Something about that big. That's I like big cookies. So something about the size, about that much. You could, if you wanted to, let them sit in the refrigerator a bit to get firmed up. It'd be easier to handle, but for the sake of this show, we're just going to use them like so. I think I might have to go a little smaller. Maybe my cookies are a little too big, but for the sake here, we're gonna use them. I'm gonna use a nice teaspoon. We're gonna use a tablespoon size glob. Because Wookiees are big, right? Right? Wookiees are big. Why not have big Wookiee cookies? So everything's on the cookie sheet. We're gonna wait till these get up to temperature, 375 degrees. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna stick it in the fridge because I could use that at a later time, probably tomorrow night. And the instructions say to go 10 minutes, so we'll go with 10 minutes on the cooking, and that'll be coming up. So as soon as we put these in the oven, we'll be back to show you how they look, okay? Okay, the timer went off, so what we did was, the recipe called for 11 minutes. I'm sorry, the recipe called for 10 minutes. I went 11, a little bigger because we want some bigger cookies. I think I should have used a bigger pan. But hey, cookies are cookies. So what we're going to do is we're going to let these cool off a little bit.
Hey gang. I come out for cookies.
And we're back. So, and they're out of the oven. They've been resting for 10 minutes. And that's what we got.
They smell so good.
They smell good.
They smell so good. They lured me downstairs.
And I'm going to give Mommy the first Wookiee cookie.
I get the first Wookiee cookie. Mmm. Oh yeah. Good job, Dad.
Good job?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have a Wookiee cookie, but there's only one thing I'm going to have my Wookiee cookie with. Milk.
Absolutely. Gotta have milk with your cookies.
You're never too old to have milk.
And cookies.
And cookies. And milk in a Batman glass. So, for those who have watched, for those who have subscribed, I thank you. I'm going to have some cookies and milk, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.